YouTube video, we will be explaining the importance of the employee working conditions in 3 sections: health and safety, wages, and working hours. Before we begin, let's stop and take a moment to think about what is going on in Spain and the world right now. When COVID-19 first became a prominent issue, employees expressed serious concern, mainly over their health and safety in the workplace, but also over the future of their salaries and working hours. This led to a massive change in the typical workplace, since companies were forced to adapt to this new normal. Employees began to work from home. Companies were forced to make decisions about how they would pay their employees or if they wanted to keep these employees working at all. In times of crisis, such as the one we are in now, organizations must find a balance between what is best for the company and what is best for their employees. With the current situation in mind, we can begin to discuss the importance of employee working conditions. You may be wondering why it is important to study this subject. Isn't it common sense anyway? Well, anyone entering the workforce will have to sign some kind of contract, and it is essential to ensure that your rights are protected and that you are looking closely at the terms and conditions. Conversely, if you are working at a company and need to create a contract, it is important that you are abiding by the national or international standards for legality purposes. You also need to consider the needs of the company. Is this deal economically efficient? Is it socially responsible? Let's talk about health and safety. Many countries have a governing body that dictates the health and safety of all employees, such as the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work. They partake in a variety of campaigns and projects in order to not only maintain but improve the health and safety of workplaces and prevent risk. In June 1989, the European Agency for Safety and Health at Work created the Framework Directive, which introduced specific measures to encourage improvements in the safety and health of workers. It provides specific obligations of which employers must follow solely as the foundation of health and safety. In the event that employer breaches these health and safety standards, these governing bodies ensure that proper consequences are in place. These mainly include prosecutions such as fines and jail time. Now let's talk about minimum wages. There are 2 minimum wages, sectoral and statutory. Statutory minimum wage is determined by a governing body based on the idea that every worker has equal rights to the same wage protection. Each country sets their own minimum wage based on a number of factors, including the cost of living and their current political and economical states. Sectoral minimum wage systems are meant to protect workers through a combination of collective agreements and statutory minimum wages in low-paying sectors. Let's move on to salaries. Salaries can be paid in cash or in other forms, such as benefit, cars, or health insurance. There are also non-salary benefits, such as travel costs, meal costs, or transportation costs, and more. Lastly, we will discuss working hours. During these specified hours of the day, employees must work on their given tasks. It is important that employers provide an environment in which their employees can work efficiently and safely in order to be successful. There are laws in place to ensure that employees are not being overworked. Employees may work no more than 48 hours a week on average, which must be averaged in a time period which may not exceed 4 months. Periods of paid annual leave and sick leave are not included in the calculation of the average. Lastly, there are laws in place to ensure that employees are receiving essential time off. These include breaks, daily rest, weekly rest, and annual leave. We will discuss the requirements for Spain specifically, though each country has their own set of standards. Minimum break requirements state that in any working day longer than 6 hours, all employees are entitled to a break, usually between 15 and 60 minutes. Breaks help maximize efficiency in the workplace. For daily rest, all workers are entitled to 11 consecutive hours in a 24-hour period to ensure they are receiving enough sleep and personal time. For the weekly rest period, workers are entitled to a minimum of 24 hours for uninterrupted time, which are normally on the weekends. Finally, for annual leave, every worker is entitled to at least 4 weeks of the year, and they will still get paid.